supportive has the city and you know, the Shaughnessy Village Residents Association been towards the work you do here at Chez Doris?
Well, I've gone to meet the Village Shaughnessy Association because we need to understand. They need to understand what we do, and we need to understand their concern, and they have some concerns. Shaughnessy Village is an area where businesses, institution, organization, and private residents are on the same street, and they have to learn to live together. But you're also in downtown Montreal, where the core social problems are. So it's important to sit together and come up with solutions. And they have to understand also that, yes, we're here, we do our work every day, but I'm also involved in different committees to make the problems of Shaughnessy Village known to the City of Montreal and to other instances, so that we don't get neglected in services that are here.
Mm-hmm. And are they, because of the change that's happening, I mean, they're trying to really develop an area here in Shaughnessy Village that, you know, has been neglected for some time.
Yes.
Are they dealing with the fact that there are homeless people, and if they want to redevelop or make condos and redevelop the park, which a lot of homeless people use as you said, a meeting place?
I think more is to be done. I mean, the energy that's developing around here is good. I mean, to have a hole beside our shelter for 10 years was just devastating, because it's not very pleasant to know that people are sleeping out there. And it was just délabré, it was old, it was infested with rats. I think these people deserve better. To put condos, you can easily forget about the problems that you just pushed aside. But we're there to remind them. Homelessness doesn't just disappear. You have to really look at it and explain the problem and sit down. And the City of Montreal is sitting down in committees to look at it and to review what other measures needs to be deployed with the means that we have, which is very little.
Mm-hmm. And has there been any problem with, I mean, policing in the park? And now that they're going to try to change Cabot Square in the park there, I mean, do people, I mean, a lot of the people that use the service here, are they afraid that they might be pushed out of that area?
I think so. I think it's a concern. And also because of the arrival of Nunavik House near there, and we're seeing a lot of Inuits use Cabot Squares to go take a stroll. And so we really have to look at that and make sure that people are allowed to use the park. What is it we don't want, and how we're going to address those issues should be addressed a little better. I've seen a few things come by, but nobody's sitting down with us and saying, okay, what can we do to make sure that this doesn't happen again? We patrol a bit the Cabot Square to see who's there, what kind of client is there, and this is what we have to look at. Has there been any changes? Who's using the park? And how's it going to change when we create this new park around at Cabot Square? The solutions are not obvious.
Mm-hmm. And Concordia University obviously has a very large presence in this area, being so close by. Yes. Do you see that having a positive effect on changes, or how do you see that?
Well, Concordia University has always been an inquisitive member of our community. Mm-hmm. And I think by reporting and by looking and by speaking out, I think all members have to play an important role in creating different solutions, right? Because we stay stuck in what we see, and sometimes we forget there's so much more. And maybe Concordia can bring up some interesting solutions.
Mm-hmm. And do you find that are they participating in these?
I don't see very much Concordia students, Concordia University involved, but I don't sit on every committee neither. There are different committees, and I try to limit the ones that I do participate. And so, yeah, it's true. It should be, maybe their presence should be a little more known in certain committees, but I find there's something missing. There's a committee missing regarding Cabot Square. We have committees that all around. They've done a consultation on les Grands Jardins, le quartier des Grands Jardins, But I think we need to evaluate a little better a square cabot. Who goes there, what time, what conditions, and to come up with different solutions. And that certainly Concordia students can be put à contribution.
And Concordia students obviously are very, I mean, a lot of them live around this area,
Yeah.
a lot in Shaughnessy Village. And there are also low-income residents as well.
Yes.
Does anybody fear that maybe with condo development and, I mean, the beautifying of the neighborhood's great, but that people might be, you know, not being able to afford, you know, rents going up?
I think rents right now are increasing at an alarming rate. And that's one of the big concerns of the shelters, because the night shelters have different levels of programming. And at the last level, they should be able to go into an apartment that's affordable. But because we're not finding affordable apartments, the women are stuck in the shelters. And so it backlogs to the point where there's no space in the emergency beds. So yes, there's a big problem with accessibility to rent, but I think that's across Montreal.
Right.
And in the past year, we've seen prices go up tremendously. And it's a concern for people that are living on the street, and the students too, that carry a heavy burden and a heavy debt. And we have to look at that. The construction of the Civil does bring some money for logements sociaux. I don't know how to say
Social
that.
housing.
Social housing. But we yet have not seen how this money is going to be spent. I think altogether we should tell them how to spend this money. And this money should be going back to the neighborhood. So there's something maybe La Table d'Interquartier, Peter McGill can get involved in saying, okay, how are we going to access this money and how is it going to make it social housing more accessible to more people?
Right, and that's one point, because in a lot of new condo buildings that are going up all across Canada, I mean, governments usually make sure that there's a certain...
They're supposed to.
Right.
And that's why this money has made available, because they eliminated that from their plan. But to compensate, they're putting a certain amount of money out there. But how to access this money and who's it for, I'm not too sure yet, you know. So that could be clearly a plan where different people from the community, different players from the community can have their word and say, look, you know, let's find these condos, but can we make sure that we have a proper living condition for the students that need this neighborhood because they're close to the university, and also for the ones that are suffering on the street also.